When I...
You're probably the only person in this room who would know.
It wouldn't surprise you to know that she's not too fond of me.
She hates you like the devil hates holy water.
So, when I resigned as vice chair of the DNC in 2016, specifically so that I could campaign against Hillary Clinton in that Democratic primary.
The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts, like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department.
You know what's crazy? Every time we think the Hillary Clinton story is finally over, that chapter closed, done, buried, somehow it comes back to bite the political establishment all over again. And this time, it's not from some Republican attack ad, not from a Fox News headline, but from someone who was supposed to be on her side. Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, Tulsi, the former Democrat, the soldier, the one who's never been afraid to say what everyone else is too scared to say. She dropped some nuclear-level truth bombs about Hillary Clinton, and honestly, it's got the entire political world spinning. Now, here's the thing. We've all heard about the so-called Trump-Russia collusion scandal that dominated headlines for years, right? CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times. They shoved that narrative down America's throat like it was gospel. Trump is a Russian asset. Trump is working for Putin. We heard it on repeat for what felt like an eternity, but here's the kicker. It was a hoax, a politically engineered, media-fueled hoax that fell apart under even the slightest scrutiny. But while they were distracting us with smoke and mirrors, Tulsi is now pointing to something far more damning, something real, something documented. And it doesn't point at Trump. No, it points directly at Hillary Clinton. Let that sink in for a second. The very person who sold the Russia story about Trump might have been sitting on her own Russia scandal that never saw the light of day. Let's break this down, because once you really look at it, the irony here is almost too much to handle. According to documents Tulsi referenced, Putin had compromising material on Hillary Clinton back in 2016. And we're not talking about gossip or made-up dossiers like the Steele debacle. We're talking about real communications, real discussions, stuff that painted Hillary as mentally and physically unfit to be president. We're talking about reports of psycho-emotional problems, fits of rage, uncontrolled laughter, health concerns, the kind of stuff that, if it were about Trump, would have been plastered on every TV screen in America 24/7. But here's where it gets even crazier. Putin didn't release it before the election. He held on to it. Why? Because Russia thought Hillary was going to win. They figured, why waste the ammo now when we can use it later to weaken her presidency? That's not my opinion. That's what the intelligence showed. Yet, in the infamous January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, the report ordered by President Obama and crafted under John Brennan's CIA, that little detail was conveniently left out, just erased, buried. Why? Because it didn't fit the narrative they wanted to sell.
This report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton.
Think about that for a second. For years, we were told Russia interfered in 2016 to help Trump win. Every talking head repeated it like a mantra. But in reality, Russia was holding back against Hillary, saving its strongest weapons because they thought she'd win. That's not interference for Trump. That's preparation for a Clinton presidency. That flips the entire story upside down, doesn't it? And the hypocrisy here? Off the charts. On one hand, Clinton's allies are screaming that Trump is Putin's puppet. On the other, Clinton herself is the one Putin had leverage over, and the intelligence community knew it. But instead of coming clean, they hid it. They chose the narrative over the truth. And isn't that just the perfect summary of modern American politics? Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. If Hillary Clinton really did have mental and physical health struggles, and if the DNC knew about it, why in the world was she their chosen candidate in 2016? Wasn't this the party that claimed to care about fitness for office? Wasn't this the party that attacked Trump's health, Trump's mental state? Trump's tweets? Yet behind closed doors, they were allegedly propping up someone who couldn't keep her emotions in check, who may have been dealing with serious issues, all while ignoring better options. Why? Because it was Hillary's turn.
Essentially, the documents that Russia claimed they had portrayed Hillary Clinton as having mental health challenges that would result in fits of laughter and fits of rage. It also pointed out some very specific physical health concerns that apparently leaders within the DNC were discussing amongst each other.
That's right. This wasn't invented intelligence like the Steele dossier. This was supposedly emails.
Emails
the
and communication among senior DNC officials.
Right.
You remember that feeling in 2016, right? Like the Democrats had already decided the presidency was a family heirloom. First Bill, then Hillary. That was the plan. It didn't matter what the voters wanted. It didn't matter if Bernie Sanders had momentum or if the country was sick of polished career politicians. It was supposed to be Hillary's, period. And you know what? That's exactly why Trump won. Not because Russia brainwashed millions of Americans with Facebook memes, but because people were tired of being told who their president should be. They were tired of elites assuming they could handpick leaders like royalty. Trump's victory wasn't just a win for him. It was a giant middle finger from the American people to the political establishment.
To that November 2016 election, it would have very likely had a devastating effect on her campaign.
Totally. I mean, that she was addicted to tranquilizers.
Yes.
And then you now look at that footage of her at the 9/11 ceremony in New York being sort of staggering towards her van and having to be pushed in there. And now you look at that with different eyes.
But wait, there's more. Tulsi didn't just talk about Hillary's health issues. She went further. According to documents, Hillary Clinton allegedly used State Department resources, taxpayer-funded resources, to benefit her campaign. That's not politics as usual. That's abuse of power. Imagine being so desperate for the presidency that you blur the line between government and campaign. It's the kind of thing that if anyone else had tried it, would have ended their career instantly. Yet for Hillary, swept under the rug, and it makes you wonder, how much more have we not been told? How many scandals never made it past the gatekeepers of the mainstream press? We know about Benghazi, we know about the emails, we know about Libya, but if Tulsi's revelations are true, we've barely scratched the surface.
The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts, like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department.
Let's pause for a second here, because I want to ask you, do you ever feel like politics is just one big cover-up machine? Like the truth only comes out when someone brave enough risks their entire career to spill it? Tulsi Gabbard isn't perfect, but one thing you can't deny is her courage. She didn't just step away from the DNC in 2016. She stepped away so she could openly campaign against Hillary Clinton. And for that, she became public enemy #1 in her own party. Think about how rare that is. Most politicians toe the line. Tulsi broke it.
They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers.
Now, some people will say, come on, this is all conspiracy theory. But is it really? When you line up the dots, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Hillary Clinton has been at the center of scandal after scandal for decades. Whitewater, Travelgate, Benghazi, the email server, the Clinton Foundation. Every time, we're told it's nothing, just Republicans making noise. But then, years later, the truth starts trickling out. And suddenly, those crazy conspiracy theorists don't look so crazy anymore.
Foreign policy has been a disaster for our country and the world. It's resulted in the deaths and injuries of so many of my brothers and sisters in uniform, It's devastated entire countries, millions of lives lost. Yet, despite this damage that you have done to our country and the world, you want to continue your failed policies, directly or indirectly through the Democratic nominee.
And let's not forget the darker side of this conversation, the so-called Clinton body count. Now, I'm not saying every tragedy tied to the Clintons is foul play, but can we really ignore how many people who've crossed them have ended up in mysterious circumstances? Vince Foster, Seth Rich, journalists, insiders, staffers. At some point, you have to at least raise an eyebrow. Is it all just bad luck? Or is there something more sinister at play? Tulsi's not the first to suggest Hillary Clinton operates in a culture of fear, where speaking out against the establishment is practically a death sentence for your career, or worse. But she might be the first insider with enough credibility and guts to say it publicly, and that's why her words hit so hard.
The Democratic Party leaders, people like Hillary Clinton, people who've been in charge for a very long time, foment this kind of culture of fear and like, hey, if you go against us, like, you're dead, 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 you're dead.
Now let's zoom out, because Hillary Clinton's scandals aren't just about her, they're about what she represents. A Democratic Party so obsessed with control, so terrified of outsiders, that it would rather sabotage its own base than risk losing power. A media ecosystem so corrupt that it'll spin hoaxes for years while burying actual scandals. And a political establishment so entitled that it treats the White House like a crown instead of a responsibility. That's why Tulsi's expose matters. Not because Hillary Clinton's running again, she's not, but because the same mindset, the same arrogance, the same obsession with power at all costs is still alive and well in the Democratic Party today. Just look at the candidates they're rolling out now. Do we not see the same red flags, the same cognitive issues, the same arrogance? It's like deja vu. And that's why this video matters too, because people forget. The media wants you to forget. They want you to think Trump was the only scandal in town. But the truth is, Hillary Clinton's legacy is a trail of failures, cover-ups, and hypocrisy. And Tulsi Gabbard just ripped the mask off for good.
When I...
You're probably the only person in this room who would know.
It wouldn't surprise you to know that she's not too fond of me.
She hates you like the devil hates holy water.
So, when I resigned as vice chair of the DNC in 2016, specifically so that I could campaign against Hillary Clinton in that Democratic primary.
So, here's my challenge to you. Do you believe Hillary Clinton's scandals have been fully exposed? Or do you think there's still more hidden in the shadows waiting to come out? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to see how many of you think the rabbit hole goes deeper than what we've already uncovered. And if you made it this far, hit that like button, because you know YouTube buries videos like this. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, because trust me, the stories we're covering will not be on CNN tonight. And share this with someone who still thinks Hillary Clinton is a misunderstood hero. They need to hear this. At the end of the day, Hillary Clinton's legacy isn't leadership, it isn't strength, it's failure, scandal, and hypocrisy. She didn't just lose the 2016 election, she dragged the Democratic Party into its biggest humiliation in modern history. And that's something no amount of spin, no amount of cover-up, and no amount of media gaslighting can erase.